Welcome, 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 everybody. Today, we're going to talk about the Gemini full moon that's occurring on December 7th or 8th, 2022. This is Moonshine with Dr. Vicky. Welcome, 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 Vicky. Thank you so much for carving time out of your day. I know these days are challenging, and I want to thank you so much because this full moon has got some juice in it and I need to process it.
You need to squeeze the juice out.
Squeeze the juice out of it. I need to make some nectar out of this one. So this full moon is going to be at 16 degrees of Gemini opposite the sun at 16 or 17 degrees of Sag. So we've been working with some Sag energy, firing it up and, all that stuff going on. And now the moon in Gemini is an air sign, right? And it's ruled by Mercury. And Mercury just moved into Capricorn.
I think later tonight, but it will, when the moon is full.
Yeah.
It will be in Capricorn, yes.
Yeah. So we're feeling the pendulum swing across here, across our words, across our communication, right? The Mercury's pulling us in one direction. The moon the Gemini moon is going to have Mars taking a dip in the pool and coming out the other side. It has this occultation going on. We are going to have cloudy skies. I'm afraid I cannot. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know.
You never know. You never know with that. Sometimes, the clouds part and you're given the gift of seeing it. But even if we don't see it, we're gonna feel it.
Yeah. And I think I'm going to probably be outside anyway because it's 10 o'clock at night. So I would like to light the full moon candle out there if I can, or in here, I think for this full moon, really it's about communication, don't you think? What do you think?
Yes, and I think maybe we should talk a little bit about what occultation is, because I'm not sure everybody might know what that is. As I understand it, it's sort of an eclipse, really. It's when the moon goes over a planet, right? And the planet disappears behind the moon. That's what happens with the solar lunar eclipses. Those are easy enough to see. When you're dealing with planets and the like, especially if it's, they're tiny, they're little, although Mars is very, very bright in the evening sky. And if anybody was able to see the moon last night, it was very, very close to Mars. And that Mars energy is, first of all, there's so many levels of how Mars would express itself in Gemini anyway, right? But then you add the retrograde motion of Mars, and it really, one of my teachers, Kim Marie from South Dakota, and there's a Dakota, I couldn't remember which one, South Dakota, says that when planets are retrograde, they act like the opposite sign. So a Mars in retrograde in Gemini points to the direction of Sagittarius. Sagittarius would be what you believe, what's the truth. So it's about moving on the truth of maybe who you are or what you, in this case, feel, because the moon is conjunct Mars. It's like this. And Mars is retrograde and out of bounds. So when it's out of bounds, it acts even more what's the word I'm looking for? What's that word I'm looking for? Oh, Gemini. Why can't I find a word? Unexpectedly, or you don't really know how it's going to go. It's like, it's like it's almost like a Jack in the Box, which, by the way, when I was a child, I hated Jack in the Boxes. They never made me laugh. They used to make me cry. Like, who's this guy, Jack? I don't like him. Get him out of here.
I love those.
Yeah.
Those are so cool.
I'm a Cancer, right? With a
Yeah.
watery Pisces moon, and you are a Capricorn with a fiery Aries moon. Of course you like Jack in the Boxes. You
Oh
probably
yeah.
invented it somewhere in the
I might just make one.
Don't send it to me. Just don't send it to me.
It'll probably be a lamp or something out of an old one. I don't know. There is a creative moment to this too, and I think it's about, and it is about self-expression, right? With this,
Yes.
and it's a point where, um, maybe with the Mars, energy, just kind of lighting it up would be watch what you're saying sometimes, or knowing how to engage a conversation if you disagree with somebody, how to like start to get people to have more harmony in their conversation kind of thing. I feel like with this full moon.
Well, I think full moons are, of course, always oppositions between the sun and the moon. And opposition is not, it's about seeing something, it's about becoming aware of something. And in order to be aware, you need to listen. And I think this requires us to actually listen. And it's hard because the moon and Mars is going to want to fight.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to want to fight. So we have
Very
to just be aware of
interesting.
that.
Are there any other themes that have come up that you're like, all right, I'm going to hold on to that note and see if that comes up again? Because you know what, I think maybe because it's a Mars energy, I've been feeling I've been having more of like a military kind of, and I don't want to scare people or worry
Right.
people, but just that sort of feeling.
Oh, well, I mean, I think people are already like feeling something is coming up.
Because of the
And
Mars thing, yeah.
well, yeah, and just the general tenure of the time we're in, right? I mean, this is a time of,
Yeah.
it's a time of transformation. It's a time of great change. And we're kind of working with a new set of rules to a certain extent. And that makes people afraid.
Mm-hmm.
Every time there was an expansion of our ability to communicate, in the case of the book, right, the printing press, the telegraph, the telephone, television, anytime there was like this expansion where we got a bigger picture, there was always conflict after that, because it shakes people's reality, and nobody really wants their reality shook. Not even somebody like myself who talks about reality shake. I mean, nobody really likes that. You just have to learn how to work with it. And of course, the only constant we have is change anyway. So, I mean, so I don't know. It's going to change. You might as well try to focus on the things that you want to see in your life, I think.
Yeah. And we do that every day, focus on the things that bring you joy. Like sometimes it's easier to see the big picture if you pick up the little pieces along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that I used to think life was like a task or something you had to accomplish. There was a lot of this sense of accomplishment that, I have some Capricorn in my chart. You're a Capricorn. You understand that. But as I've like gotten older and realized that doesn't always work. It's good to have a general focus, a general idea of where you want to go. But I think it's real important to stay open to the possibilities of what can be.
Mm-hmm.
And also at the same time in the direction of what it is what you want to see, but we don't have the plan. We're just focusing our attention, and the universe fills in all the details.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's so very important to see where your focus is. And maybe that's a challenge now with this full moon, with Mars retrograde in Gemini. And Gemini, I dated a Gemini for 7 years. I adored him.
Mm-hmm.
If he was my brother, but as a partner, he drove me insane. because he was constantly coming up with these ideas. Boom, bing, 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 bing. I couldn't keep any of them straight in my head. I was like, you're giving me a headache. Stop it, you know? And he was a nice guy, but
Right.
too much. And he actually was a full moon baby with a moon and Sag, interestingly enough. I might hear from him, or maybe I should call him.
Wow.
Again, I've been trying to call him for a couple of
Yeah.
years now. He refuses my calls. I don't know why. I broke up with him, but I don't know why he refuses my call. I like him. Anyway, so I just want to point out that for those of you who have the full moon on the 7th, your vibration for that day is the sun.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And those of you who have the full moon on the 8th, your vibration is the judgment card, which is the awakening. So it can express itself in many different ways, but either way, I think it's gonna be quite profound, quite profound.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting. It seems like it's, you know, I know Gemini's got this archetype that we teach and learn, right?
Yep.
But there's more to it than that. There's more of kind of a Libra energy, to be honest.
Right.
To it.
Well, it's all the Libra energy, of course, comes with the nature of the opposition of the sun and the moon, but all of the air signs, all of the air signs are dual signs. In Gemini, it's our relationship to our environment. In Libra, it's our relationship to another person. And in Aquarius, it's our relationship to the larger whole of humanity. So there's always this duality. There's always duality. Mental air energy is dual always, because you wouldn't be able to see it if it wasn't contrasting. So there's a lot of contrast with this full moon.
Right brain, left brain, right?
Yes, absolutely. And the right brain is Sag, and the left brain is Gemini.
Yeah.
Interesting. So it's a powerful, and of course we started this one with that new moon in Sag, which was a new moon in Sag, and then like the next, like 5 minutes later, or some crazy amount of time, like little time later, Jupiter turns direct, and Jupiter rules Sagittarius.
Yeah.
Of course, at that time it still is in Pisces. So there's that energy too. There's a lot of feelings, a lot of emotions, a lot of healing. That is necessary.
Neptune just went direct too.
Neptune just went direct. Now Neptune and then Jupiter is going to be in Pisces until the 20th, when it moves into Aries again. And this time when it moves into Aries, it's disposited by a Mercury, a Mars retrograde. So that's interesting. It wasn't that way the first time it went in. Yeah, I haven't studied it. I want to look at the contrast of those two things. I just haven't had the time.
That's how the year starts.
The year starts with a Mercury retrograde and a Mars retrograde.
Yeah.
This year started with a Venus retrograde, and women lost their constitutional right to a safe abortion. So I don't know what kind of rights men might lose. This maybe from my lips to the goddess's ears, that we can get some sort of more gun control. I would like to see that this year.
Well, I'm definitely want to put that out there as you're writing your full moon intentions on your, little candle or whatever, is to, this is the last full moon of the year.
Yes, it is.
So to honor the last 11 of them, that last, full moons, we got to honor the goddess, right? Because of all the rights that we are changing.
Yes.
And everything that's coming up. My mom died, right? Like the feminine energy. So this moon, even though I don't even know how Venus is really involved, not so much, other than she moved into Capricorn. She moves into Capricorn the next day, right? So she's rounding up her stay in Sag. So this last full moon is to, I always like when Venus moves into planet, do something special for her, like baklava. She has like the edible altars. That's why.
I love Venus altars, especially when it's done and then I can eat it. No.
Yep.
Well, that baklava is perfect, right? Because it's like honey. I mean,
Yep.
honey and wheat. I mean,
Yep.
how Venus, right?
Mhm.
That's actually kind of a little Venus and Virgo. But yeah, and of course, Venus is now going to be moving into the sign that she was retrograde last year in. So
Yeah.
she was in that sign for like
Yep.
40 days, 45 days. It was a long, long time.
Mhm.
She was, oh, longer than that even, because the retrograde period of Venus is 40 days. That's all connected to Jesus in for 40 days and 40 nights and all that stuff. That's Venus. Mhm.
Okay.
Do you want to look at the chart just so we
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
have
Let's look at the
so-
chart and see and look at that. And the first thing you see, honestly, is like all the planets are squeezed over on,
on one side. Yeah, I'm gonna yeah, I can't do two things. So I'm so sorry.
yeah.
It's like,
And and Mars is right there on the other side of it. So
okay, here we go. So here's the chart. This is for Washington, D.C. So, but we can see that Mars moon right up there in the 10th house. Very evident place. Very evident. I am looking for Venus. Where is Venus?
she's
Yeah.
right by the sun.
Oh, she's on the galactic center. She's not doing
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Well,
are you having a Venus return?
that's conjunct my Venus. Yep.
You're having a Venus return on a full moon in Gemini.
Yep.
And you have your North Node in Gemini, right?
Yep.
Isn't it close to your North Node degree?
I have to look. I don't know. I don't know.
You want me to look? I can.
Right.
Okay. The moon is trine Saturn. This Saturn, Saturn's trine Mars. Saturn's been trine Mars for a while now.
Yeah, my
Now the
North Node's at 22. Yeah.
Okay, so close enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Close enough. Yeah. Wow. And then of course we can't forget, even though it's I don't know, the idea that Uranus is still moving with the South Node. It's been on the South Node since like August, when it was exact, and it really hasn't gotten off. And I connect that to the two volcanoes in Hawaii, Mauna Loa and Kilauea, are both.
There was one more in Indonesia. I know you talked about them this morning or yesterday in the daily message, but there was even another one in Indonesia.
And one in that was New Zealand. That was New Zealand. Somebody asked Ellie from Ellie's Dream Down Under.
Yeah.
The New Zealand earthquake, the New Zealand, because they were having earthquakes, I think, on that. Well, it's the Ring of Fire, right? That's the Ring of Fire. Okay.
No, but there was another one in Indonesia.
I think you're right. Yeah.
That
killed some people, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I know it caught me because I heard the word volcano and I backed up and I rewound what was going on, and it was this volcano in Indonesia. I'm like, all right, there's still that feeling like the ground is moving, but you're standing still.
Yeah. I think that's going to feel like that. And you had that experience, I think, on the new moon, didn't you?
Yeah.
Well, recently you had that experience.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's going to go away until until Uranus moves out of Taurus, and we still have a few more years of that.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. Right now, Uranus is at 15 degrees, is in the second decan of Taurus, and the second decan of Taurus is ruled by Mercury. So it's shaking up our mind.
Yeah. And Mercury just moved into Capricorn. So it's kind of more strict.
Right, so Mercury is dispositing both the moon and Mars in this full moon. And so it brings that, which is really a good energy for this, because what it says to me is Mars moon energy can be erratic and fluctuating and all of those things, right?
Yeah.
But Mars is retrograde, so the Mars energy is sort of held back more, I think. And then you add the fact that it's disposited by Mercury in Capricorn, which is about stability, right? So there is, even though this could be a very sort of destabilized feeling, I
Mhm.
think underlying it, there is, and the other thing is that Mercury is on a world point. That first degree of Capricorn is very powerful, just as the first degree of Aries is, and the first
Yeah.
degree of Cancer, and the
Yeah.
first degree of Libra. So it's all very, and then of course Venus in a couple of days is going to move into Capricorn as well.
Yeah.
So
Right after the full moon, the day after, I think the
is it the
9th,
day after? I
8th,
can't
9th,
remember.
yeah.
I did it. I can't remember what I said. I did my weekend and then it goes out of my head. So
Yeah, I just have one page out at a time right now, but yeah, there's, but I'm trying to like see the significance ahead, put that plant in there and then just kind of absorb the energy. There's that feeling about it too, sort of kind of taking in a sponge kind of a feeling,
well,
more,
we can't not be spongy with Jupiter and Neptune
yeah,
moving together like that in Pisces. Interestingly enough, it's sitting in the house of the United States. This is the United States chart because I did it for Washington. That Jupiter in Pisces and Neptune in Pisces in the 7th house can be healing. It can be this can be a really profoundly healing time if we allow ourselves the healing. And of course that takes forgiveness. It takes a willingness to uh, let go of resentments and the like.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Interesting.
Do you want to pull us down or leave it up, or you want to say anything else about it?
I think no, there really isn't. Honestly, I don't want to like get really, really complicated with it or anything. It looks like it's going to be an interesting full moon.
The one thing we can say for sure about this one is that it's going to be interesting. I want to
Yeah.
point out one more thing. I want to point out Pluto opposing Black Moon Lilith, like
Yeah,
pretty tight,
close.
pretty tightly, right? So there's again the opposition and awareness, to a certain extent, an awareness of how far apart we are. But
Yeah.
unless you know how far apart you are, you don't know how close together you can get. In fact, if I could, and I'm going to just stop the share, but we're in a 6-year this year, right? 2022 on the tree of life, which I'll pull down for purposes. I have things like jerry rids over here. On the tree of life, it sits on the path between Baina and Tiphereth. Baina is the divine feminine. Tiphereth is the sun, S-U-N-S-O-N. This is the path of Gemini, and it is the path of duality.
Yeah.
And we're ending this year with a full moon in Gemini, conjunct Mars, retrograde in Gemini. It's a culmination, as you said previously, of everything that's come before. And I have to, and I hate to even invoke the name, but the full moon and Mars retrograde is sitting on Donald Trump's Uranus. He has Uranus at 17 degrees of Gemini.
So this is going to be interesting.
Well, he's disintegrating, really, as far as I can tell. He's shattering in a million pieces.
So waiting for maybe the language to become even more inflammatory. Like he's just he just the Constitution, or the Constitution's unconstitutional now, or some like crazy,
Well, he's like,
know,
well, obviously we have to
leading
forget the
out.
Constitution because I should be the president. What?
Yeah, no,
No,
yeah.
that's not how it works. No, this is
Mhm.
not a family business. This is the Constitution of the United States. This is democracy, buddy.
This will be really interesting to see what happens on the political end, even everywhere, Iran and China, and how this, I'm telling you, this full moon has got, it is the Mars energy
It's big. Yep.
is
I
got,
mean, there's going to be such a shift when next year comes. Goodbye, Iran. Goodbye, China. Goodbye, Putin. Goodbye, Trump. I'm telling you, it's going to shift, and we're
yeah,
going to see where that's going to take us. I don't know.
yeah,
I'm just saying that's what it
yeah,
feels like to me.
yeah, yeah. So interesting. So what do we tell people for this full moon? What do we say? Honestly, write your intentions down with the idea of wrapping the year up.
I think we have to listen. I think that's part of it. I think it's the process.
Yeah.
Because full moons to me are less about intention and more about awareness of what our intention that we set at that new moon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think the intention needs to be open.
Yeah.
To the information that's coming in, whether your information source is news or if it's your own. Actually, you're probably better off just doing your own psychic sense, like the green line here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Really interesting. So what did I get? What I was thinking about, I started writing things down when I'm
Yes.
at some point.
Oh, we have to talk about a little bit about holding things together, right?
Yes. Yes. And that's enough, that it's either a theme, it's got to be a theme of this full moon. It's like just sort of like, don't fix it, because I'm working on my mannequin there. Just tape it right now. Just tape it right now. Just take a step back, see what it's going to look like. I think that's part of this full moon thing, is with the Mars retrograde energy.
Temporary adhesion.
Temporary adhesion. Okay. Right. Don't force it to happen too soon, because Mars is having,
you're going to have to redo it at some point, right? Because Mars is going to come back over that. And that's when you can put the stitch in. That's when you can, right? And let me see if I can find out when that is. So let me look at my handy dandy ephemeris. While maybe you want to share all this tape stuff that you've been these tape messages. So before she shares the tape measure. Oh, okay. The tape stuff is, as some of you may know, my mother is in transition. She's actually COVID positive. She's in the nursing home. I had to go see her last night because she spiked a fever. So this morning her fever's gone, but it's probably just a matter of time. And her moon's in Gemini. But my mother was obsessed. The three things we always had to buy her was pens, which is very Gemini. Her books, her word search books. She had to look for words. She was always a word person. And tape. And my whole childhood, she put everything together with every sort of tape. She had a refrigerator in the kitchen, and she loved, like, all the kids in the family, and she would put them on the refrigerator with tape. And we had like a whole part of the refrigerator was covered with pictures and tape. I still have the pictures with a little bit of tape on some of them still. It was like a reclamation project for like the Last Supper. I was like trying to get the tape off without destroying the pictures. Now you go ahead and you tell the story.
Maybe that's part of where this is coming. This is so funny, because the more you talk about this, the funnier it gets. So, part of this energy was like, I wrote it down thinking, okay, this is probably part of this full moon stuff, is, don't try and fix everything together right now. Just put it down with tape. I'm making this mannequin. I'm kind of doing a lot of cutouts, and I want to do something a little bit different. And mention it, and I wrote it down because there's something that has a message in there for me. And then I talked to Dr. Vicky, and she's got this story about her mom, because I am trying to send your mom some healing energy and new, of course, like I feel like maybe she's reaching out and stuff and saying, this is the time when your spirit reaches out. So taping things down is a theme that's running through this, not fixing it, making it changeable.
Yeah. The mutability of it all.
Mutability. Mhm.
So it looks like we get back to this degree. Mars gets back to this degree. February looks like 22nd, 23rd.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah. And then that's right around the time when the sun has just moved into Pisces. Right. And
Yeah.
that's an indicative. I mean, February, March is a big month for a lot of the stuff that's been going on now to really come to fruition. So we have to keep our eyeballs open for that.
Yeah.
And of course, March is the month that Pluto moves into Aquarius for the first time in 250 something years.
Yeah.
And Saturn moves into Pisces for the first time in like 29 years. So there's definite shifts at that time. So everything, like, even though this is the end of the year, I think there's going to be a big like catch up until we get ketchup. I love ketchup. Anyway, now I'm hungry. Catch up till we get to March. And then I think in March, there's a whole new, like, something new opens up to us.
Isn't that interesting how these cycles actually follow like tax season and sales, right? Like automobile sales happen at that time, tax season happens at that time. And that's like the end of February, March. And there's when, Mars goes direct. That's when people get their tax checks back after their, filing in January. If you're getting money back, you file January 1st.
For January 1st, there it is.
That.
TurboTax
right?
is like,
yeah.
January 1st.
So, we're starting to see refunds come in and stuff like that. It's interesting how we've kind of modeled our economy around what the planets are directing, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Pretty interesting.
And those first months of the year, until we get to Aries, of course, are very collective.
Yeah.
So it's really about, the collective giving and receiving in that sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I usually give. I usually rarely receive, but I'm open.
We'll see. I don't know. Every year is
that's with taxes. That's just taxes. I'm just talking taxes.
I know. And
I'm constantly receiving.
Yeah. Taxes, I don't know. We never know what's going to happen with that, honestly. Let's just like get through the end of the year. And it is a charged time through the holiday season for a lot of people. So Gemini full moon is also including your siblings, right? In your full moon altar in the terms of, can we just get through this holiday event, or for whatever reason, let go of, any kind of anger that pulled you in a bad direction over the year or whatever. Put that on this Gemini, put your siblings on there.
I also think, like, everybody talks about this Civil War stuff, right? That's happening. But I think that, families have really been rent asunder by either, it started really with Trump, and then COVID came and separated us even more and isolated us.
Yeah.
And we've been trying to get back together in a way that, in a new way, in a different way, knowing, I think that a lot of us got to see people that we really loved, what they really thought about things that we had not paid attention to before because we loved them. And so it was a little bit of a mind screw. Of course. Yeah. Say something else. But now it's like, I feel like we have to like look at it and say, okay, are we still willing to love these people? Are we still willing to relate to these people? Because it's unity and coming together that's going to get us through this period. It's not further separation.
Yeah.
Actually unity. And I think unity is coming because in 2026, Neptune goes into Aries.
Yeah. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a hot summer.
It's a very profound time. It's like, it's really I think the beginning of a new age, honestly. We're still sort of working things out now, but we can feel it. We can feel it.
It will be, because Pluto will have finally rested.
Will be in Aquarius completely.
Aquarius by that time. So
For
and yep.
20 years.
Yep. The new generation's coming.
New generation, Pluto in Aquarius.
I was talking to my kid about this yesterday, about Pluto and Aquarius, and I said, think about this. Think about your generation. You've got like some grasps now of generations. Pluto and Aquarius. And it was like, oh my God, they're going to be aliens. I said, yep.
They're going to be aliens. They are already aliens. They're going to realize they're aliens.
So
they're going
think
to be
about
like, oh,
this.
wait a minute.
Yeah. Think about this next group and how you guys feel like so out there, you Pluto and Sag group, you know, you're like so far removed from like anything, you know. So think about the Pluto and Aquarius people that are coming up. Right. How crazy is that, right? Yeah. Man, oh man, that was one of those light bulb moments, you know. I can't wait. I think it's going to be really interesting.
Well, we're going to get a little taste of it this coming year, so we'll see, right?
Yeah.
It'll definitely be interesting.
Yeah. All righty. Well, the other things I picked up on were like the smell of honeydew and the taste of honeydew melon. I think I actually did take a screenshot, and I'll share that, of what the symbolism is. So, because it was relating to the full moon, when I, you know, start a project or do something, I think, give me some signs. Give me some signs. And sometimes I can get one of these things that happen. Harmonizing qualities of honeydew. Unfoldment and fulfillment of female energies. So we've got Venus ready for this, but maybe that's what this message is from the honeydew. It's relaxing. It steps down the intensity of emotional energies, bringing the emotions into closer alignment into the body. Expression of emotional energies through the body. Emotional stability, peace, quiets over zealousness. Mars, okay.
Our friend Mars.
Our friend Mars, right? And assists in bringing you to a new and higher stage of maturity and self-integration. So all those little things can filter into this full moon energy, you know. These are the little hints I get. This like honeydew smell.
Are melons in season now, or are they out of season? I mean, you can get them. I understand.
You can, but they taste like chalk. Terrible.
I was going to say, have honeydew at your family gatherings to bring that energy of integration together.
Yeah. Oh, you can get it. Yeah, absolutely.
It's not very good.
There's that kind of energy to it, so it's neat. It's really neat.
Or get a honeydew candle, right? They have candles that smell like honeydew, right? It's like a thing.
Yes.
Maybe have that in your house when you're.
And you know what? That's so funny. And I was running around like, you know, because I burn a lot of incense. I do a burn every day, all the time. And I was going through my jar of my incense sticks. I'm like, which one is got like honeydew in it? You know, I'm trying to pick out there, because it was really interesting. So if you want to go and rabbit hole into what the flower essence of honeydew is, or the symbolism, that's what I picked up on for this. And the color is pretty awesome too. So maybe, you're right. Get a candle that's
sort of almost corally, pinky, peachy.
Yeah. I'll get a candle that's that color. And that could be part of the build on the full moon altar as I look
Right.
for signs and then I start to build the altar together. But that's a perfect color
You
for,
could always get a honeydew and stick it on too, right?
yeah, I'll get whatever. Yeah,
Kind of look
I always
like
like that.
honeydews look like full moons. I mean, I mean,
Mhm.
right? Is Artemis at the moon yet, or is it just going away
Artemis is coming back.
already? Like I didn't hear
Mhm.
anything about it.
We're
That
taking
sneaky Artemis.
pictures.
Oh, okay.
I think what I saw this morning was on the news was they took, they've done their mission, they've done their sweep, and then they're on their way back. And we should see pictures and videos and stuff in a couple of days or whatever. I don't know. I didn't pay attention to the end of it,
Well,
but I thought,
that should be interesting.
and we'll probably go back up in 2026 with astronauts. So there we go. Great. That's the next time.
Would it
That's
be
the
great
next
if it was like,
project, the next
wouldn't it
plan.
be great if it was like an all-woman crew or something?
Yep. That would be so much fun.
I want to see the charts of those women.
That would be so much fun. So we'll see, we'll see the pictures, I'm sure, after they tease out the little UFOs or whatever they have to do to make it family friendly, right?
I have some theories, but we will talk about that in this.
And then we'll see pictures,
Yes.
just the way they want us to see them.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, check out my community page for a picture of the moon that I got with my new phone. Oh my gosh, I really, really, really want to learn how to use that feature, and it's been cloudy ever since, but that is from my phone, and I was like jumping up and down when I got in the lobby at work. I'm like, oh my God, look at this picture I got at the moon. And I'm just blown away. So if we can see anything tomorrow night at 22:07 Central Standard Time, it is full moon in Gemini, and with Mars, doing a little peep show behind it from our vantage point. This is what it's going to look like. So throw your wishes and intents out there. Thank you guys. Love you guys so much. And we'll see you at the full moon.
We love you guys. Namaste.
Love you. Love you.